Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this last day of January. And we're here, Henry-Cameron and Estrella, with the fifth episode of Unlearning. And today we're just going to have a conversation, and you get to listen about whatever pops up in our minds. So, Henry, how are you doing?
I'm cold. Can you tell? Look at me.
Well, hey.
European.
You,
My
well,
red scarf and my blue beret.
Yeah. It looks very nice, by the way. And,
Hey.
like I said, it's 80 degrees here in Florida. So, hey, we have the best of both worlds. So, you drink hot tea and I drink iced tea.
We're heading into spring and we're going to have beautiful wildflowers this spring because we had a lot of rain this past month. But the last of the winter cold is snapping at our noses. And so these houses, many of them are very, very ancient. The one I live in here is 800 years old or more. And they're built of granite, which is great in the summer because it's like you're in an ice box, no need to pay for air conditioning because they're naturally air conditioned in that sense. But in the winter, they also trap the cold pretty well. I have a wood burning stove. And if I close all the doors to all the rooms of my house and keep my bedroom door open, then it stays pretty tight, pretty toasty with the wood fire. So,
well, your electric bill is very low.
It is.
While mine is very high.
It is. I'm sure. I remember. Yeah.
You lived in Florida once, so you know.
I did live in
what it's
Florida.
like.
Yeah, I've lived in a number of parts of the country, and it's not. I think that's one of the biggest differences here. I mean, Europe has all the same stuff practically that America has. We have Burger King and McDonald's, and we have Popeye's chicken here. Can you believe it? In Spain,
I believe it.
We have Aldi, we have Lidl, we have, the big superstores. There's even a Costco in Seville 2 hours from here. So
really?
Yeah, anything that I would want in terms of quality of life that I would get in the States, I certainly have access to here. Amazon delivers to my little village, right? So if I order something, I could have it next day.
I cannot live without Amazon. I have to have Amazon.
You're hooked. Even Temu delivers here. So, I mean, it's anything I need, I have. But one of the things that's really different, being A, in a rural community, B, in a region of Spain that's the most economically depressed because we are inland. We border Portugal. Everybody, when they come to Spain, they want to go to Barcelona. They want to go to the coast, which is beautiful, Malaga. But the prices, the cost of living is much higher in this place. I mean, there's no traffic here. There's no fast food here. The closest city is over 40 miles away. There's not even air traffic. You've heard me say this before.
Yes, and there's not a doctor. There's not a vet. There's not a hair salon.
Yes, I took you to one.
But not in your village.
Not in the village. There's a woman who does hair in her kitchen. I mean, there's that. But
is that legal? Is that legal in Spain?
In Spain, it is.
Wow.
I mean, the villages around here, 5-10 minutes away, have all that stuff, and we do have a clinic in my village. We have a doctor here. And if it's something that they can't handle, then they send you to the next biggest town that's got an urgent care and they've got, a small hospital. Okay. So, even that stuff, it's not too bad. But I'm renting a 4-bedroom house for $200 a month.
Yeah. And you can't find that anymore. I mean, I've seen a few because I look just out of curiosity, and every now and then you see one for 300, 350, 400, which quite frankly, compared to what most people have to pay here for a house that size, you're looking at least $3,500 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, I am not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. When I first moved to this area, I lived in a little tiny apartment that was about 600 square feet. It was a temporary thing because I was working for an organization at the time. My gosh, that was $1,200.
Yeah. Yeah. I was when I
Who
was
can afford that? Who can afford that?
I
You
was in
know?
Massachusetts. I was on a limited income being an artist. And for a one bedroom apartment, I was paying 1,200 a month plus
Yeah,
utilities. Plus
yeah.
utilities. And it didn't have I had to go to the laundromat to do my laundry. I didn't have any, in-house.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
tough.
and I didn't have a car, so I had to, like Santa Claus, carry my backpack on my back and, take it to the laundromat. I don't mind that. I don't mind simple rustic living, but seriously, in my village, even as remote and as Green Acres rural as we have fiber optic cable, we have Wi-Fi, we have cafes, we have a butcher. We have what they call autoservicios, which are convenience stores.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Ooh, and you also
Everyone likes to go
and
visit the convenience stores because it's funny. The bakery here, we have a baker as well. And whenever we stop by just to say hello, because a friend of mine owns it, she always gives him a cookie, a little simple butter cookie, right? So it's where everybody knows your name. That's got a little bit of its, patent place-ness about it. Everybody knows your business. Everybody wants to know your business, and there's a lot of, gossip.
well,
But
uh-huh.
that's small town. That's small town everywhere. But I'll tell you what: if you have a need of any
They're
kind,
gonna be they're
they're
gonna be right there helping you,
yeah,
and yes, and I have seen that, because there have been times that, you had a company and one
yep.
of your cousins got sick and everybody comes over with
Oh
soup and
yeah,
anything. So it's very, very loving. But there's one thing that I think we need to talk about today, and it has to do with unlearning.
you go.
Okay, well, don't give me free reign here
On a silver
because I
platter.
can get in
I
trouble.
bend, I bend to you.
Okay. Well, when we are young as children, and children are very impressionable and very trusting, and they believe everything that they're told. And
Mhm.
I think all of us, not all of us, but at least most of us, have had the type of upbringing where we were told to learn certain things. And as children, we believe and we practice, but then the time comes that as adults, it's no longer relevant. Okay. And so we face a lot of questions. We question ourselves. We begin to question the things that we learned. So let's pick a subject, a topic. Which one would you like to discuss that you would like for our readers to, think about? Because many of them may be at this point too, where they might need to unlearn some things in order to live more at peace with themselves.
Or more in alignment with who they are.
Alignment with who they are, authenticity.
And I think it's really hard in this day and age, but maybe in any time, to really know who you are because of all of those influences around you in your foundation years that are telling you who you are, or who you should be, right? Down to your name. You sent me a meme uh, recently that says, as soon as you're born, you're given a name, a religion, a nationality, and a race. You spend the rest of your life defending a fictional identity.
Okay, and that part, fictional identity, it's true because we have adopted what we have been told who we are, who we're supposed to be, but that's not really who we are. Who are we then if
Well,
we're not those identities?
I think that it depends on where you grow up, what the forces are at work around you that are insisting that you fit into all of those boxes. But it also, I think we're each born with a certain quality of being. And I was, from almost out of the womb, rebelling against what everybody was telling me I should be. The word should is a trigger for me to this day. And that covers all of it. My name, when
I'm writing that down. Should. Never mention should to Henry. Yes. Okay.
right.
I wrote it.
Avoid, or in a positive way, avoid the word should. That's a positive action versus never, right? That's the other power of language, is that we're told don't do this, don't be this. And very rarely are they telling you what you should do, or what you could do, more accurately, or who you could be, right?
Okay.
So let's go down this list. Your name. Even to this day, there are family members of mine who refuse to call me Henry.
What was your given name?
It's Henry. But they nicknamed me Hank when I was...
They nicknamed you Hank.
They started calling me Hank, which is a nickname for Henry, right? And it's not a bad name. I know a lot of Hanks.
I don't see you as a Hank.
I never felt like a Hank. And it was around that same time that song, My Baby Does the Hanky Panky, came out. So everybody was always throwing that in my face. My baby does the hanky panky, right? And all that stuff. I think my little brother used to call me Hanky, which also is like a handkerchief that you blow your, mucus into. But I never really liked it. And it wasn't until I went to boarding school when I was 15 years old that I had the opportunity to reclaim my name. And I introduced myself as Henry. And most people around the world, since I was in high school, have called me Henry or Henry-Cameron, right? Which is, as you see on the back wall here, I hyphenated my son's name with mine to keep his name in the world. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I'm a peregrine. And a peregrine is a new way of saying a parent who's outlived a child. And before that image came to me in a dream, I was seeking language around it, because there's not been a word like widow or orphan to describe a parent who's outlived a child. And when people say, oh, do you have any kids? Or if there's a form that you're filling out and it asks you how many children you have, do you include the one who's passed? Do you talk about them? Especially early in grief, it's really hard to talk about it. And
exactly.
Nobody wants to feel obligated to crowbar open their chest and pour their most sacred pain out on the table. And so
exactly.
I'm lacking a word to turn to the way that widow or orphan serves, right? When you let's ask you, oh, are you married? And you say, oh, I'm a widow. Enough said. You don't have to go into it unless you want to. But there was nothing really like that for us. And so it's actually a great story. I went on a road trip several months after Cameron passed, and I went to the Grand Canyon because I wanted to feel my scale again. I had to be a superhero for 2 years as he was struggling with brain cancer. And I needed to feel my smallness again. And I was living in Minnesota, and the closest place I knew that I could feel that way was the Grand Canyon. And there are these long stretches before you even reach the canyon of just desert. There's no civilization. There are no towns, no gas stations. In fact, there was a sign that said, no gas the next 70 miles or whatever.
Wow.
You have to fill up before you go in. But it was about 3 a.m, and it was inky black. Just all I could see were stars and the lights on the road. But there was one bright star on the horizon. I thought, oh, maybe it's a gas station, or maybe it's the North Star. I didn't know. So I just made for it. It took me a couple hours to get there. But I arrived in this little enclave of 3 buildings with a 100-foot tall lamppost in the middle. And there was a little motel. There was I think it was a Zuni tribe trading post, and a post office. Nothing else for miles and miles around, but it had its own zip code. And I looked up at the post office, and it was Cameron, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Total Twilight Zone moment.
If that was not a sign, I don't know what is,
Yeah,
because that was, yeah,
you gotta be open to seeing them, and they will
exactly.
manifest. They'll manifest around you when you're open. So
Absolutely.
I took a nap in the motel, and I woke up and went to the trading post, which was open. There was an elder sitting on her blanket selling jewelry. You've seen this.
Mm-hmm.
This is my Cameron, Arizona ring I bought from her. She made it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I asked her if I could sit and have a conversation with her about something. And she invited me to sit down. And she was how you would imagine an indigenous sage woman to be: leather-faced, long silver hair, a lot of turquoise and silver jewelry. And she was sitting on her blanket.
Ooh.
And she was a mystic, definitely. And I said, my son passed just recently, and I'm struggling with kind of an existential crisis. Who am I now? Am I still a parent? If
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
parenting, I said, is there anything in your language or culture that holds that piece? And she said, well, in my culture, your name would change with such a profound experience. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, your name is the expression of your identity. And when you are a parent who's outlived a child, your identity completely changes. And so your name would change. I might call you Henry, whose son is gone. That would become your name. I would introduce you as Henry, whose son is gone. If I ran into somebody at the supermarket, oh, I saw Henry, whose son is gone the other day, right? People would talk about you with your new name. And even if they're thinking about you, they think about you with your new name because they're holding you in your grief. I thought, oh, what a beautiful way to approach that. Of course, Henry, whose son is gone, doesn't quite fit into the global lexicon. I didn't really want to walk around introducing myself that way. And so the thought came to me to hyphenate his name with mine, the way people, when they marry and blend their identities, right? Because he's always going to be a part of me. And when a child has passed, you rarely hear their name spoken. People don't want to upset you, right?
Well, that is
Or they
one
don't
of the
feel,
things that people need to unlearn, is that, as parents who have outlived their children, and for those of you who are listening, I lost a son to suicide, and that was back in 2013.
Mhm.
And so there are a lot of unlearning. Was a lot of unlearning that I had to do because of the expectations that society placed on me, as it has on all of us. You are to do things a certain way. If something goes wrong in your family, it's your fault. If your child dies, well, maybe you were not a good parent. And that was
Yeah,
something that I had to wrestle with, you
right.
know.
Or
Am I, what, was I a good mother? Did I not teach him right?
Mhm.
And so I wrestled with, gee, am I still a mother? And it was the most difficult thing for me. And of course, let me just say this, that social media helped me immensely,
Yeah.
because at that time I was very much alone. I didn't have anyone that I could talk to that would understand where I was and what I was feeling. And so I began to connect with people, and you were one of the wonderful people I was able to connect with.
Look
And,
at us now.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a wonderful partnership.
How did
But
how did you handle that lack of language around it? Did you
I had no idea what language. Some people were calling it bereaved.
Yeah.
And I would say that initially, yes, a mother, a father can be bereaved, and it is okay. But is that a label that we want to carry for the rest of our lives? No, because grief, even though we grieve, most of us will grieve forever.
Yeah.
Okay. And that does not mean that, we're crying all the time. or we're in a bad place all the time, it means that we remember our children,
Yeah.
and we want to honor their existence here and the new existence that they have, because I firmly believe that death is an illusion.
I agree.
Okay. Life continues.
Yeah.
And I have had many, 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 as you have, many synchronicities, many messages, feelings, and I've seen things that let me know,
Yeah.
hey, this is not the end. And so grief changes
Yeah.
for those of us who have unlearned certain things,
Yeah.
and we have adopted a new way of thinking, right?
It can change, and I think that we have to be open to that. But because of
Hmm.
those parameters that are sometimes very deeply ingrained in us, we can be resistant to those, to being open
Well,
to
yeah,
ideas and thoughts. Getting
yeah.
back to the name topic here, and reclaiming your name, I think is a freedom that every human being has. Even if your birth certificate says this is your name, this is your gender, right? This is your nationality, this is your race, that's all on your birth certificate. You don't have to own that. That was given to you, that was bestowed upon you. Some people say it was imposed upon you. There's no
I wasn't given a choice.
right. I wasn't given but
I was named after my grandmother, Estrella.
right.
Star. That
And
means star.
And that's an honor. I was named
It
after
is.
my great grandfather, but I
Yeah.
guarantee you, nobody called him Hank.
Nobody dared.
No. So I reclaimed my name first when I was in
Hmm.
high school,
Hmm.
and then again after Cameron passed. I gave myself his name, and as much as it's a new identity, right? Henry Cameron. That's how most people call me now. It's also a mathematical equation. It's Henry minus Cameron in the physical sense,
Hmm.
only in the
Hmm. Hmm.
because I don't believe in loss, right?
Well, I know we call it loss, but there's certain words that most of us, and I know, we want to
That's what we've
replace,
learned.
we want to change some of the verbiage because it's negative, like bereaved. Okay, well, I don't feel like I'm a bereaved mother. I
Right.
am a mother who has outlived her son. And yeah, I miss him. Sometimes I feel it here. Sometimes I feel the sadness.
Yeah, it's
There's a sadness, and grief changes. But I read somewhere that grief doesn't change. We get stronger.
yeah.
And in order for us to get stronger, there's something that we have to do. Are you gonna quiet down your horse? The
No,
one that's barking? Oh, here we go.
right, where all the dogs in town eat their supper, and so after they've eaten, they go, "Have you eaten yet? What did you have for supper?" "Oh, I had beef." Yeah. So this is one of two times tonight where they get chatty. But I agree with you. I had this thought to look up the root of the word grief fairly recently,
Mm-hmm.
and it shares a root with the word gravity.
Oh,
And
it
when
is
you think
great.
in
Yeah.
terms of what you just said, right? Grief is heavy. It's
Very
it's
heavy.
going to be heavy.
Very heavy.
Always has
Very.
the quality that comes with grief. And we get stronger so that we can carry the grief. And when I had a client recently where we were talking about how I asked her to remember when she was pregnant. And any woman who's carried a child or carried twins or
Ooh.
triplets, it's heavy, but you carry that burden with love, right? You carry that burden. And those of us that have outlived our kids, anybody who's carrying a burden of grief, I do believe that there are ways to carry the burden with love in a way that allows you to be stronger, allows you to be resilient, and to make friends with your grief as a teacher and as a companion on your life's journey. That's where
Um,
that's sort of, where
we
I've
are by nature, I
yeah.
think that we are by nature resilient people. Okay. We're a resilient species, all species.
Yeah.
Aim to survive. Okay, that is what keeps them thriving, is their need to survive, their desire to survive, right?
I don't,
Well,
I don't think so.
oh well. Uh,
You know, I'm going to come back
I
with
know you are. So let me have my moment here.
your moment, and then I'll give you mine. I'll give you my interpretation.
Let me say this. Okay, the heaviness, the pain was so heavy here, literally on my chest, in my chest. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And I began to give away my things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I also wasn't altogether there because I remember that I would just forget where I would, I didn't go out anywhere. I sometimes would forget to shower, of all things. I would forget that I have something on the stove burning. And so it affected every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
I got behind the wheel of a car and I would forget where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so heavy that I thought I was going to die. And I believe that what really, really got me, or not got me out of that, but gave me the strength to continue, was the fact that I needed to know more about where my son was. And as I researched, I learned, and I got into topics that I knew nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
But then they began to make sense to me.
Right.
Okay.
Alignment.
And as what was that?
Alignment. You came
Oh,
into.
alignment. Yes. Okay. And and so I learned things, tools that I added to an empty toolbox because I did not have the tools necessary
Right.
to really live with that. And so little by little, I began to add and use the tools, and it reshaped me. The things that I learned, actually, I unlearned a lot of things and relearned new ones. And as I relearned them, I noticed that it was also shaping the way I was thinking.
Yeah.
It reshaped the way I think, and it continues to reshape it. And it also made me more open-minded.
Yeah.
And I can't, I know that we use the word healing, okay? Because at times it does feel like it's an open wound, all right? But I have to say that I'm not so sure that we heal completely. It just, we get better at managing it. And I know that if I were to allow myself, I could really sink deeply into sadness
Yeah.
if I was to allow myself
Yeah.
to relive that moment where I learned that my son had died by suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I don't allow myself to go there.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're both working with parents and families
Yeah.
that have lost loved ones. So we know that we're only a moment away. And so we need to always be mindful that we need to continue to do these exercises mentally, time alone. Some people meditate very well. I don't. But I find that I can do something else to just cleanse whatever negativity can come
Overwhelmed.
about.
Yeah.
Overwhelm. Exactly. So now you have a different opinion. Go for it.
I think that loss is a word like bereavement
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is not going to be felt the same. And this isn't to invalidate or discount the feeling that one has lost something, right? What does that mean when you've lost something? That means you can't find it.
That means you can find it.
But we know where our boys are.
Right here.
Exactly, right here all the time, right? We're all going to get rid of this physical bag of bones, this meat bag of bones, but that doesn't make up who we are. The vehicle does not define the driver. right?
Exactly.
And so what we know now, and even this is corroborated not only spiritually, but scientifically, is that that which makes us us continues. It continues in the hearts and minds of everyone who knew us, everyone who talks about us, everyone who remembers us. So when I hear the word loss, I automatically think, oh, I feel so bad because where did you lose them? Maybe they fell into the sofa. Maybe you left them in the car, right? I feel like no, we didn't lose anything. Maybe in the physical sense, they're not with us physically, but we have them with us. They're not lost to us. And just like the word healing, healing is a verb. It's an action. Healing, right? I agree that we are in a process of healing throughout our lives, and that just like a bath can be healing, right? Or a rest, a nap can be healing. Our lives on a grief journey are inherently healing, yeah, but there's no end game. There's no end game. Nobody will be healed from grief. Nor
No.
I don't know. I'm carrying the weight, the gravity of my grief with so much honor and love. Why would I want to be healed from that? But I can,
Oh,
I can take the strength that I've found in the grief and apply it toward my healing journey, if that makes sense.
well, it makes sense because, quite frankly, I think that part of our experience, and none of us, if we could turn back the clock, I think all of us, I certainly would prefer to have my son back, you know, healthy. But life is the way it is, and things happen the way they happened. Um, Grief is really tough. What I carry in my heart is just love, period.
Exactly.
Do I love my grief? Well, grief is a state of being, it's a state of mind, it's a state of feeling. Um, I don't dislike my grief, although, and I don't want to call it my grief. It's almost like, gee, I'm owning a something
But it
that's
is yours
painful.
because you
Yeah,
are the only one who can grieve the way you grieve, right?
yeah.
Grief really is as unique as the person experiencing it. So to say my grief infers that there's no one way to grieve, that there are as many ways to grieve as there are grief walkers, right? I'm owning my way of grieving. I allow you space to grieve in the way that you grieve, and there's enough room for all ways of grieving.
Okay.
There are no
Here's what I see. I own my experiences.
yeah.
Okay. Grief to me was an experience.
Yeah.
It is not one that I want to repeat.
No, but you will.
No, nobody. Well, when I die, and other members of my family, which
No, but
very, very small now,
you also
you
have
know.
you have pets that you will grieve.
Oh,
They
oh
pass.
gosh, I don't want to talk about that.
Right,
I feel about my pets.
but see, this is the thing.
Oh,
We are going to meet grief at every stage of our life, whether it's someone we love, whether it's a pet, whether it is a change of geography, leaving your community, whether it's a change of government, whether it's I mean, we grieve our youth sometimes. Grief is a universal life skill that we are all going to meet, and we are all going to deal with continuously from beginning to end, from womb
I
to
don't grieve my youth. I
well,
don't
not
grieve
you,
my
but some
youth.
people do.
My youth was difficult.
But some people do, is my point. Not you. Just
But I mean, don't you think we get better as we age? We learn to say,
know. Every time I turn on the TV or YouTube, I don't see people who have gotten a whole lot better since they were children. I see a lot
well,
of grown-ups acting like children, and
yeah,
so I can't say that. I can only speak to my own experience, and that yes,
unevolved, underdeveloped.
well, and with a lack of toolkit. right?
With a lack of tools, which at one time I had zero tools.
Right.
So the person that I was then is not the person that I am now.
That's right.
And I don't miss that person, not as a child, not as a teenager, not as a young adult. No, because it seems like I went from one hardship to another. And was I looking for it? No. It was in the people that I was associating with.
Well, and there are people today who feel like they're in a worse place than they were when they were children, right? So
Well,
it's
yeah,
a unique experience.
yeah,
I come
yeah.
back to it being a very individual thing. And to address the point about survival, right? What is it that you said about that we're all
We are resilient by nature. I think, I mean, not
we
everyone, but generally speaking, we are a species, just like bugs are, just like our pets are. They're just different, but we have the same makeup in so many ways. And I see it, nature survives no matter
yes, but
what.
I don't believe that that is
We're
the
part of nature.
we are part of nature, but there's something special about human beings.
We can think.
We can think, we can imagine, right? We don't,
And
and we don't know that our animal friends and our tree plant friends don't imagine too in their way. But we can, the human consciousness is very unique to our species. And I think that one of the things that separates us from the rest of living things is that when we look around us at plants, we look around us at animals, we see them in a constant state of survival mode, which is stressful, isn't it? I mean, anyone who's in survival
well,
mode
mm,
is in a perpetual state of stress and anxiety because they are trying to survive something. I don't think that that's the human condition. I don't think that's who we are naturally. I think we are a species that doesn't seek survival. We are survival manifested. You've survived.
we
We've survived
we
100%,
survive.
right? We've survived 100% of everything that life has thrown at us. We are.
Okay, but
What's
don't you think that we have to run towards it?
no,
Yeah,
no,
yes.
no. I disagree. Where's the tennis rackets? Um, no, I believe that we are a species not seeking survival because we are survival. That's built in. We're hardwired for it. Like you say, we're resilient.
Yes.
But I do believe that we are a species that seeks comfort.
We seek comfort. I
We're
know
not
I
seeking
seek
survival,
comfort.
we're seeking comfort. And that goes down to the clothes we wear, the houses we live in, the furniture we buy, the people we surround ourselves with. We are constantly seeking a state of comfort. But that's not what we're taught. What we're taught by so many life coaches, big ones and small ones, we're taught you got to get out of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone will kill you. I saw that on a t-shirt. Your comfort zone will kill you. I say don't get
Oh,
out of your comfort zone. Expand your comfort zone. And
and
we
what
have the
is
power to
comfort?
do that.
Yeah. I like my comfort zone. I mean, this is where I'm happy.
Yes.
Okay, so yesterday I went out for the first time in 2 weeks. Okay, it was wonderful. It was sunny, it wasn't cold, it wasn't raining. It
Mm-hmm.
was great. But you know what? I enjoy being here at home. I enjoy doing what I want to do at home. And I don't have to have all of the extras that so many people look for in order to be happy or find themselves busy,
Yeah.
because it is all that busy work that keeps you from really internalizing life and learning some things. It's in a way, it's avoidance.
I think yes, and the programming that we've had to date has been that your comfort zone represents avoidance, and that's not a comfort zone. People who are in a state of avoidance are not feeling any kind of comfort. They want to hole up. They want to cocoon themselves. A cocoon is a rigid structure,
Very much
right?
so.
But comfort, real comfort, is more like a womb. It's stretchy. You have freedom of movement. You can expand it, right? As you grow, your comfort zone grows. The more you know, the more wisdom that you collect by experiences. That means that you are growing as a person. And like the womb is stretchy and grows to accommodate the growth of the fetus, so too we must let our comfort zone expand as we grow and as we know more about ourselves, about the world.
I never really gave much thought to my womb.
I think about it all the time. Not your womb, not your womb, but the full womb, the human womb,
It is what
right? Can you imagine if your womb was a cocoon? Your baby would never grow beyond this size. It would be stuck in that state of non-growth. That's what I think they're talking about.
Well, I mean, don't caterpillars break out of that cocoon?
Yes.
Okay, not caterpillars, but butterflies. They break out of that,
But
right?
we are not butterflies.
Well,
So to anthropomorphize butterflies, to say they're the same as humans, butterflies, I don't know that they have a sense of comfort in the way that humans have a sense of comfort. You think of our oldest
all things
ancestors.
have a sense of comfort.
Yeah, but in the way that they do. Ours is ours. And we know when we feel comfortable, when we know when we're not comfortable, right? When our earliest ancestors were sleeping in thorny bushes, exposed to the elements, no clothing, no protection, they were exposed to wild animals and bugs and snakes and skunks and everything else, right? They were exposed. They were not comfortable. But somebody, but way back when, saw a hole in the side of the mountain out of their periphery. And they thought, oh, well, maybe I'll be more comfortable in there. I'll be safer in there. So they checked to make sure there were no saber-toothed tigers lurking or, snakes or scorpions. And they crawled into the hole when they knew it was safe. And they said, okay, this is better than the thorn in my butt, right? And I'm not exposed to the elements. I'm protected from wilderness. But the floor is a little uneven. It's a little cold. There's, rocks and things around. So I'm going to bring in some plant material. I'm going to bring in feathers and some animal skins. And I'm going to make the space, my space, more comfortable for myself. They brought in fire to make it warm, right? We do this as human beings. And I think that if we think of our lives in the same way, in our homes, in our bedding, in our clothes, in our friends, and our animals, we bring those things into our personal space in order to feel a sense of comfort. And that is healthy. That is good. That is what we want. We don't want to be struggling to break out of this rigid cocoon, right? To unfold wings that we don't have. We're not born with wings.
Sometimes we don't know that we are lacking something until it is presented to us. And I will give you a very brief example. Okay. Mm-hmm. It was in a series that I watched about this woman who had been a slave. And this is back in the 1800s, something like that. Mm-hmm. And she had never, ever slept in a bed.
Right.
And when she saw one and she felt it and she touched the mattress and it was so soft, she began to cry.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think many of us are that way. We are feeling what we're feeling, not knowing that we are just a step away from doing something that is going to change our lives for the better.
And that
grief is like that.
And that's what I mean by expanding your comfort zone. That's exactly.
But not just grief. I think it's everything in general. And to me, what really has made a difference is just keeping things simple. my life is very simple. If I have stress, it's not because I'm feeling stress, it's because, I'm dealing with someone else's stress, or my dogs are not feeling well. And so we begin to create this monumental cloud of discomfort because of what is happening around us. When in reality, we have no control over that. The only thing that we can control is us. And that is something that I learned, is that yes, we're going to feel pain. Yes, I'm going to be sad. Yes, I am going to grieve again. Do I want to? Heck no. No. Nobody wants that.
Right.
But even as prepared as I am, and as much as I know, and I know that you know as well, that emotion, that feeling is there for us to feel and to experience that. Okay. And I think that we are very, very close to
Wrapping up.
we have exceeded our time. So, did you have any last words, Henry?
Yeah, I think we're saying essentially the same thing, and it's semantics, but it's about, noticing what you have, finding gratitude for it, and
Yeah.
also imagining for yourself what could be better, right? Even if you don't have those things, maybe you don't have that wisdom to know what's better.
Right.
Search for it, right? Always keep that mindfulness, that childlike sense of curiosity about what could I bring into my space. And it's going to be different for you than it'll be for somebody else. I mean, my great grandmother couldn't stand a soft bed. The harder the better. She used to sleep on a door. No kidding.
Ooh.
I know
Okay.
what was comfort for her.
Well, there you go.
That's the thing.
That was comfort for her. So,
Speaking of comfort, I think that we find our natural human impulses. And if we are constantly in a state of survival, which is what we've been indoctrinated to believe, that you must stay in a state of survival versus a state of comfort, it changes the game. It did for me anyway. Experiment. That's the word of the day. Experiment, try it. You might like it.
the word of the day for me is stay in your comfort zone. Don't listen to anybody and what they're telling you. Well, that's why we get along so well. We understand one another, and we certainly appreciate and respect our differences. And we're not really that different.
We're not that different. And
we're not that different.
We're essentially, and I would venture to say that is common in humanity. Social media tells us.
Well,
social media tells us one thing, that you have to believe this way, and screw everybody who doesn't believe that way. There's such division right now, and if we can.
Well, it's not social media. I think it's people and their belief systems that are clashing. You got to do it this way. You got to believe that. You got to do this. That. Oh, fudge, forget that. I'm going to do it my way. Like Frank Sinatra. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's a very popular song here in Spain too. But that's that should be the philosophy. Do it your way, and everything else will fall into
place. Everything else will fall into place. Now, for closing, I want to thank everyone who is listening. And we do this once a month, so stay tuned. Now for our next podcast, we're going to bring someone that many of you know, and her name is Carla Blowy. And Carla is a certified dream coach, and she is going to be talking to all of us about dreams. Boy, I've got some weird ones lately, but this is for another time. We'll share it. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm Estrella, and this is
Henry-Cameron.
Okay. See you later. Bye-bye.